All right. Thank you for joining us. It's April the 29th, and we're doing ladies and lunch. And I am so excited. I get to reconnect with one of my really old friends. We met in Korea, and we used to be in Toastmasters together. So I'm so glad that she is participating as a presenter with Ladies and Lunch this week. Today, she is going to talk about happy moms breed happy kids, because we know right now we're going through a lot during this pandemic where we need all the resources and the support that we can get. And Ladies and Lunch, what we do here is allow women to present content, tips, tricks, techniques that can help during business, being a mom, remote work, everything that we're going through right now. This would actually be able to assist us. So we like to have great conversations and be able to interact. So we are on Facebook Live in our Ladies and Lunch group. If you want to participate in the group, please join Ladies and Lunch. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Jsun McDonald, and she's going to talk. McDowell, I just gave you a different last name, McDowell. She's going to talk to you about being a mother during these times, and I'll let her do the presentation. Then we'll turn it over to anybody who has any questions. So if you want to do an introduction, I think that people do a better introduction than I could ever do for them. So go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me better?
I can hear you.
Okay, very good. It's good to see you again. It's been a
Yes.
long time. Yeah. Okay, so as Cha mentioned briefly, I'm originally from Korea, and I left Korea back in 2011. And I'm also a military spouse. So from Korea, we went to Kansas for Leavenworth for 3 months. And then from there, we went to Germany for 1 month. And my husband, since he's in the military, he has to deploy out of Germany. And then at the time, I found out I was pregnant with my first son. Since he was gone, I decided to go back to St. Louis and stay with my in-laws for about a year. So I gave a birth to my first son there, and after a year, I went back to Germany to rejoin my husband, and we stayed there only for 6 months, and then the military sent us back to Kansas, Leavenworth, for 18 months, and there I gave a birth to my second child. But after 18 months, we have to go to California, very high desert and remote area. And then I gave a birth to my third son there. And after 2 months, 2 years, we went to Virginia for 3 years. And then after 3 years, we came to Germany again last summer. So past 10 years, I move around a lot from place to place, and I became a mom of three boys. That's who I am. I'm a mom, stay-home mom with my boys. So how about Nikki? Do you have a children?
No, I don't have children.
You don't? Okay. I know Chad just had a baby. How about Catherine? Hi, hello.
Yes, I have a 8-month old, so that is quite interesting.
Yeah, that's the best stage. You all you have to do is just snuggle the baby. That's my also. I missed that stage also. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation.
Okay.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, I can. Can everybody else see it?
Yes.
Okay. Catherine, can you see it? Hold on, I think you're okay. Can you see
Yes.
the
You
presentation?
can reconnect, I think.
Okay.
No.
Everybody can see it? Okay, you see it very good?
Yes, they can see it on Facebook.
Okay, so I'm just testing my technology here. So can I just click my mouse and can move on to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's what I want to know. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. My presentation is divided into 3 different parts. First, parenting in general. And then second is how to deal with kids during a global pandemic. And third is a Q&A session, okay? So have you ever heard of expression, happy mom, happy kids? Yeah.
Yes. It
Yeah,
goes along with happy wife, happy life.
yeah, yeah. So being a mom is very special and unique and a rewarding experience. But at the same time, as you know, it's very tiring and requires a lot of endless work. It is very challenging both physically and emotionally. So if you are happy and always positive and stay upbeat and thankful all the time, you can use that energy to nourish and raise our children as role models to our own children, and our children will inherit how to live happy lives naturally. So happy moms breeds happy kids. Based on my personal experience, parenting is all about reaction. The reason why I'm saying this is that when things go well and the kids are very responsible and they behave very well and they listen to you and they follow your directions, I don't think we need any special parenting methods, because all we have to do is just love our children and enjoy the moments, and then praise our kids' positive behaviors. However, when things go wrong and kids push our buttons, when we face challenges, and it seems as if there's nothing worse than our kids driving us crazy at the moment. And then we parents tend to react to our children's behavior a certain way. But how we react to our children is very important, as kids learn from our reactions. Just by practicing our positive reaction, and we can become very wise parents. Our reaction have a huge influence on how our kids see themselves. Okay. So Azure, can you see the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So as a new mom, I didn't know how to react to my kids when they misbehave properly, when they push my buttons. I just didn't know how to react to my children. But I knew that screaming and yelling or even spanking wasn't the answer. But I didn't have an experience as a mom. So I was desperately looking for a parenting seminars or classes. But thanks to the military, sometimes they offer a free parenting seminars to military parents. So I attended my first seminar, a parenting seminar. It was quite interesting. What I learned about the seminar was giving our children choices, actually giving them a choices and limiting their options can help children behave better. It was totally new to me and kind of culture shock, because the culture that I grew up with, we didn't offer any options, and there's no such a thing as choices. Either you get it or not get it, or if it comes to food, either you eat it or you stay hungry. You never really ask what you want, or I was never asked what I want, but with my parents. So it was very new to me and new skill, and I could not wait until I implement this new tactic or parenting style in my household. But then I became a dictator. I only gave my boys a choice, either happy mommy or angry mommy. So if you want happy mommy, just follow my way. If you don't follow my way, your consequence will be you end up with angry mommy, which you don't want. But anyway, it seems work for me because I didn't have to yell at my kids as much. So I love that. I loved it for a while. But after 6 months or a year or so, I had another chance to go to attend another parenting seminar. And this seminar was very eye-opening events and mind-blowing events for me. And then it was hosted by Parent with Love and Logic. And then I learned that through this seminar, there were three types of different parenting style. One was helicopter parents, and second was drill sergeant parents, and third was parenting with love and logic. And let's look at the first helicopter moms. What do you think the helicopter moms about? Anybody has ideas?
Those that hover over and try to like control everything and, you know, basically just influence everything that their child is doing.
Exactly. They hover overhead like helicopters and oversees every aspect of your child like consistently. So as a result, the child who grew up in helicopter parent environments, they can be less irresponsible and then very heavily relying on their parents. That's the kind of negative part of a helicopter mom. Let's move on to a drill sergeant. Does anybody has idea what drill sergeant is going to be?
Like in The Sound of Music, where all the kids are lined up and they have their marching orders.
Yes. Yeah. So drill sergeant is like a boot camp. You are very controlling and you yelling and screaming. All you care about is training your kids in the name of a discipline. Sometimes it's my husband in the military. I have to keep reminding my husband that my kids are not their soldiers. So you have to make sure you don't talk to my kid. He doesn't talk to my kids like he's talking to his soldiers. They're not. He's not. My husband is not their drill sergeants. When you implement this drill sergeant method in your household, it might work when kids are little. When they're tiny, they have no. They are weak. They have to listen to you. But when they become a teenagers, they have opinions, and it's not, the method is not going to work. The third is love and logic method. Have you ever heard of love and logic? Parenting with the love and logic?
I haven't.
You haven't? And how about you, Catherine?
Well, I think it's pretty logic. It's basically you adapt your response to the situation.
Yes. Yes, pretty much you nail it. Yeah. So basically, love and logic is to teach you how to react, how to react to your kids with empathy. And meanwhile, you can enhance your kids' positive behavior and then help kids to make a healthy decision making. Why this method is so important? If you believe life is all about making choices, do you believe that life is all about making choices? Yes, I believe it. So my kids can practice how to make choices at early age, and they understand there will be consequences according to their choices they made. So it teaches you basically you are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of your life. So at very young age, this method can teach kids how to be very responsible and in very loving and caring environments. So as a parenting is not just about it's not about just learning something from book. You can learn any parenting from anybody that you look up to. For my case, I'm gonna add one more quote here. When I went to the colony at Williamsburg in Virginia, I happened to go to the souvenir store. Once I went to the store, I found this great quote from Thomas Jefferson at the store, and I just have to buy it, and then I put it in my voice word. And I have my boys repeat this quote multiple times until they memorize it. So when things doesn't go well, my boys just throw a fit and he throw a tantrum. Sometimes they have like difficulties expressing their moments, and they just scream and yell. Then I ask my boys, what did Thomas Jefferson say when you're angry? And they answer like, oh, and I'm supposed to count 1 to 10. And did you count 1 to 10? And my boys say, yes, but I'm still angry. Then do you want to try count 1 to 100? And we count usually 1 to 100. And while counting numbers 1 to 100, actually problem solve is sad. My boys usually forgot what they are mad about. And also it works for me. As I sometimes then I get frustrated. Sometimes I need time for myself, so things can cool off, and I just go back to my kids. So this is very important for me. Now let's talk about some pandemic. So how to deal with during a global pandemic. I cannot believe that it's a 2020. What is happening currently right now? It's just insane. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, some things that we heard in the history, or something might happen in the ancient history time, is happening these days. But because it's happened, we have to deal with it, and we have to embrace it, and we have to just as it is, and learn how and then learn how to make it better. So let's talk about during the pandemic and how we can do better and thrive as a parents. First, I would like to emphasize taking care of yourself. Before you taking care of yourself, you make sure you take care of your kids first. The reason why I'm saying this is because being with the kids 24/7 is very overwhelming. It's very tiring, and you consistently you have to cook, and you have to feed the kids, and you have to clean the house. It's not easy, and especially during this lockdown, you can't even hire a babysitter, so you can relax or go on a date in a fancy restaurants with your husband. So it's a must for you to take care of yourself during this lockdown. So it's very important for you to find something that works the best for you, either eating chocolate or watching good movies, or doing exercise, or doing yoga, just yoga, or watching movies or reading books, whatever. You have to find something that works for you. As for me, in the beginning of lockdown, I was very stressed out. I was under a lot of stress. I was very mad and stressed. I couldn't believe what's happening right now. I was just mad. And then because I was so mad and stressed out, it results in insomnia and days. When if you ever experience insomnia, when you cannot sleep for days and days, you cannot function normally. You can't really function because all your body just want to sleep during the day. When you just want to sleep during the day, how can you watch your kids? There's no way you can be happy and be energetic enough to watch your children. So I know that I have to take care of myself to survive this pandemic. So I just began to go for a walk first thing in the morning to combat with my sleep disorder. just going for walks sometimes, just enjoy the weather. Sometimes just enjoy listening to music of my favorite podcast, just being myself, and just going for a walk sometimes, just to go for a walk. And when I came home after work, it just it was very refreshing. And I was able to tell that I just recharged my energy. I feel great about myself, and I feel like I'm already like productive. My days hasn't even started yet, but like I can tell that I was able to enjoy the day and ready to take care of my children. So make sure before you take care of your children, you take care of yourself first. The second aspect is about what you value the most in your life. It's about what you want your kids to learn actually during this pandemic or throughout their life. For me, it's habits. I'm from Korea, as mentioned earlier. There is a saying that 세 살 버릇 여든까지 간다. It means the habit that was developed at 3 years old lasts until 8 years old, which means the habits you develop at young age and stick to you the rest of your life. You might know that it's very difficult to change your habit. Trying to break your habit is very difficult. So I wanted to make sure that my boys have a good habit. That's what I want. So it can be very simple as washing their hands once they come back from outside. And then it can be simple as just washing their hands before and after meal, and they take the plates to the kitchen or clean up after they play, which is very important. But however, the one habit that I want my boy to have was love of reading books. I really want my boys to enjoy books. And it's better when you start when they're young age. So ever since they were little and small, I spend my time thinking it's my investment, my future investment for my children. I devote my time to read for my boys at least 1 to 2 hours a day. So as a result right now, my two oldest are kind of school age boys. Once they get up in the morning, they don't go to school, but they still have their assignments from their online classes. So they do their homework and they play, but make sure they always find some time and sit down during the day and read a book about 1 or 2 hours. And I really cherish and then adore the moments. And that's just a huge highlight of my day, our day actually. And there are many activities and comes to activities you can do at home. As a stay-at-home mom, I was always tell my my friends that I met, I am a mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom who never stay home. My boys are very active, so I could not stay home because staying home, they start destroying the house and driving crazy. So I took my boys to the library, spend time at the library, or go museums, or go to nature, or hiking, or playground. That was our normal routine. Now, because of a lockdown and things like going to the zoo, you can't even do that. So things are very limited right now, but still we can have a lot of good time at home. So luckily and very fortunately, we have a backyard. So we've been camping outside in our backyard and making a fire every morning, or sometime whenever you want, and then go bike ride or hiking and gardening. And then sometimes once a week we watch movies. And then sometimes my husband loves to bake cookies with my boys. And we like to go to hiking once a week, which is very important for us. And because hiking is my favorite activity also, it just release my stress also. But for my boys, going hiking is like going to amusement park, because they find all the sticks they can find or during hiking, and then they do play imaginary play, which is so adorable. And there's so many things we can do at home, even though our space is very limited. So this global pandemic is very wary and scary. I mean, when I watch news, it seems like it's never gonna stop. It's very, it kind of makes me down and depressed. And so I try not to watch news too much, because when you are bombarded with too much negative news, it's difficult to stay sane and stay positive, trying to become productive. So try to stay away from the negative news and stay focused on my families. And I noticed that even though during this pandemic, it's very difficult, and a lot of challenges occur to many families, but it can provide a lot of good family time and then build family bonds. I believe that when you truly enjoy what you're doing, you are not just surviving, but you are thriving. So I just enjoy and cherish every moment right now, being with my kids right now. So that is what I prepare for today. And we can move on to Q&A discussions. So if you have any questions that you want to bring, you are free to ask me any questions right now.
Yeah, I think Catherine had a question while you were talking, and she says her children are older than 3. Can they still develop habits?
Oh yes. Oh, how old are they?
They're 14 and 16.
Yes, of course. I developed my habit after 30, after turning 30, but it was much harder. The reason why I'm a big fan of developing a good habit is that I met Cha through Toastmasters. I was huge a fan of self development. I read a lot of books about the people who are very successful. You know, one thing I found out, those people who are very successful, is that they all have a good habits. So if your kids are still 14 and 16, is a perfect age to introduce a good habits. So
If they listen to me.
Yes.
If they listen to me.
They didn't can
One more time, Catherine.
Yeah. I can't hear. I can't hear you.
Catherine, can you repeat it, because you broke up?
No, I was saying if they listen to me.
They don't listen to you.
Of course not.
Yeah. It's totally normal. They are totally normal kids. They are not. It's very difficult to listen, but you can actually provide the environments. What kind of habit do you want your kids to develop at this moment?
Helping more at home, especially while they're confined. You know, I think they should. Well, the only thing they will do is that they will probably put their plate away in the dishwasher, and that's about it. I want them to really help with tidying up, cooking, interacting a bit more with us. Yeah, for a start.
Yes. Chad, do you have any ideas to contribute to Catherine, how he can help his boys developing a good habits?
Well, for me, and I'm just gonna go off of of just habits that I have to create as an adult. I think just the repeating of what you're doing. And so if, let's say, writing, just writing out your thoughts, and maybe just having a set way of doing something every day. So for instance, if they're having difficulties staying focused, have them focus on something for a set amount of time each day at the same time. Because I think what children really need is the repetitiveness, and they need consistency. And when you do something on a consistent basis for a certain amount of time, it becomes a habit. And they say about 21 days. So I would say 30. But if they're continuously doing that same thing on a consistent basis, it will become a habit.
So you need 30 days before it becomes a habit, basically.
Yeah.
I think you need 30. They say it's about 21 days, but a good 30 days.
I think it's better to err on the upside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it takes normally, yes, 30 days or 21 days. Definitely, it's not going to change over one night. That's for sure. And then because since kids are like teenagers, they might it's a little bit different than kids when kids are younger. But also, you can give them always choices and consequences at the same time. So little chores like that, I would say, um, uh, like putting away the dishes is just, I would say that, I would say the consequences might be maybe just you don't prepare meals but next time until they prepare the meal, but they throw away their dishes, there might be consequences. So, but it's very, I'm not an expert in parenting with the teenagers. Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking it's a bit punitive, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
It's a bit, I mean, it's like a negative consequence, basically.
Yeah, it's negative consequences. Yes, that's could be. But consequence can be positive or also usually constitute as negative. But there is a man actually a monk that I listen to sometimes. I'm Christian, but sometimes I love the wisdom that comes from Buddhism. So I listen to that. Sometimes they cover a lot about parenting. And then when you do consequences with your children, make sure you show your empathy first. You are not doing this just because you don't like, you are not doing this. You're doing this to kids not because you don't like them. You make sure you're doing this because of love of your children. So he said sometimes you can pretend to be weak. You can pretend to be weak. So not cooking, excuse not cooking for your kids because they're not responsible and they kind of drain your energy, something down like that. So you can kind of use some wisdom how to approach your kids to develop good habits.
Okay, thank you.
I hope there was a good answer. And any questions?
Nikki just said, you mentioned cooking, and my dad used to have me shop or cook when I wanted elaborate things to eat. I know that me having the ability to pick the meal made me want to cook it. Maybe if you give them full ownership, they might be more excited to cook.
Oh, that's also, yeah, having them to take ownership. That's a good strategy. Also, yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah.
So, quick question, Catherine. Do they just not like to cook, or do you want them to be in the habit of cooking?
Well, the thing that they both know how to cook because I paid for cooking lessons for each of them. And I've been cooking with them as well since they've been little. It's just, well, in a few years, they're going to go to uni. So I want to make sure that they will be able to cook when they're left to their own devices. I know that if I'm not around for a day, they will just cook something simple like pasta or whatever. But I want them to also try maybe once a week each or something to do a meal for the family, just so that they get into the habit of caring for others and doing a shopping list if needed, or, you know, planning basically. And they've been quite reluctant to do it on their own. You know?
Maybe you can, it won't be on their own, but maybe you can even suggest or have like an assigned time and say, hey, you know, one of your sons, your oldest son, they cook on Monday, and then you may cook on Tuesday, and then you have your younger son cook on Wednesday, and your husband.
Oh, I've done the timetable. They just don't care.
Oh. that's a whole nother story. But so with that particular habit, it just is in my opinion. So cooking is like a chore. If for some people, it's not something that they innately want to do, and then for some people, it's just something that they really want to do. I think Nikki's suggestion was excellent. But there's, there also may be this point where you implement it into a regimen, and then that becomes something that they like to do later because it was part of a regimen.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, just one other thought, if you don't mind. So I didn't like to cook before I started cooking at my dad's and before I started watching Top Chef. And I don't know how competitive your sons are, but I think
Oh,
part
they
of
like nailed it.
so like if for me, for instance, it seemed like a chore and housework that I didn't want to do. But I think once I started watching Top Chef and started seeing it in that light, that helped. I mean, since you have two of them and you have 2 separate days, you could somehow make it a contest of some kind. You could take it away from being like, cook, it's a chore, learn how to do it. Like, oh, let's see which one of you can cook the better meal and we'll vote or something.
Oh, I see. Yes, they are competitive. Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. That's an excellent point. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that one actually. I, as a child, I would have been like, you're going down.
And it comes to cooking, I still don't enjoy cooking. I just don't have a choice. But every opportunity, if I could avoid, I try not to cook. It's something, but I have to do it for my boys. It's not a choice anymore. It's something I have to live life.
But you see, like with the confinement, instead of doing it like once in the evening plus the weekend, now it's like lunch, dinner all the time. It's like, no.
Especially with the teenagers, I know even my 3 boys is still young, like 8 and 6 and 4. They eat all day long, nonstop, consistently. On top of 3 meals a day, I have to provide 3 snacks a day, which is a lot. I was just surprised. I'm just like, at this age, if they eat this much, imagine they become a teenager. They're gonna eat up the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, boys are excessive, and it doesn't get better because the older they get, the more they eat.
Oh, that's very true. So be prepared for that. Be aware of that.
Yes, I know. So I have a question. So I know that you're in Germany right now. How is other than the things that you've implemented, which I think is a great idea to have like camping outside, going hiking, baking time. What are some other things that you're doing to kind of help? I know that you have a couple of kids that are in school that help you maintain, like, do you have to homeschool, or how is that handled in Germany right now?
Also, the DOD school is all closed. I don't know when the school is back open again. So it's completely closed, but they provide an online class. So my oldest is a 2nd grade right now. He goes to online class 2 times a week, maybe 20 minutes each time, and that's it. So pretty much we do kind of online class with the homeschool class. But then, like I say, I am not focusing on schoolwork too much. I just want my kids to be happy and then do whatever he wants to do. So as long as he's responsible and finishing his homework on time and read some books, couple hours a day, I just let my kids do whatever they want to do. But our choice is very limited because of a lockdown. And then they just go bike ride around just neighborhood. But it helps a lot just to get out of the house a few hours a day.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
No.
Yeah. Very good. I know Chad Jones is nearly mine, and she has 8 months old. How's your motherhood lately doing?
Well, for me, I feel like I've been on lockdown for 8 months, or actually longer than that, because 3 months prior to giving birth, I actually stopped working. So I feel like I've been in a house. The difference then was I could go places and I could like go to Panera and sit down and have lunch or whatever. And then once I gave birth, I felt like I've been in the house. I think I did still have options like to go out and to do things, but it was cold because he was born in the summer, and then we went into fall and then winter. And just as we were coming out and the weather was starting to change, the pandemic hit. So it's been a little of an adjustment in the sense that we can't go outside like we would like. We can still go to the park, and I could stroll him around, but the things that I wanted to do and be able to take little tents out and go to the water, it's just not the same because you have to have distance and you have to park at certain places, and it's just much more of a challenge. So for me, it hasn't been that much of an adjustment because it's just an extended version of what we were already doing, other than we had a couple more options. But I don't like it because I like interacting with people when I want to, and I feel like I don't have a choice now, and I spend a lot more time inside. The other thing is the weather here has fluctuated. Like when the pandemic first started, it was much warmer. So we had 60, 70 degree days. And then now it's converted. It's like 50s and gets down in the 40s. And then you may have a peak at 60. So hopefully when the weather gets better, we have more options to go outside, it'll get better. And I'm hoping that for a lot of other people, they have more options as well. But I think just being able to be creative, and I know that my child is not in school, but he's at that age where I'm trying to make sure that he has all of those developmental milestones and that he's walking and and starting to talk and all of those things. And so just trying to be creative with the things that we do, because prior to the pandemic, we could go to story time at the library. And then they would have little puppets and things like that, which, I have to be very cognizant of I taught school, so I do have some awareness, but I'm not a teacher at the present time. So just being creative and thinking outside of the box is important, especially now, especially if you have like kids that are in school, because they're only going to school for like what you say 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And I know some people who have kids that may go to school, then they have like a one-on-one counseling session with a coach or something, and then they have all this free time. And I honestly don't think that you need to be in school for 8 hours. I think that's excessive. However, there was something that someone put on Facebook that they broke down the day and was like, okay, you attend school for 2 hours, and then you have like a creative time, maybe do an art project or something like that. And then there was like read a book, and then there was a time where, you got to play and interact with family. And I think that's actually more conducive to learning than the schedule that they were on already. But that's just my opinion. I haven't got there yet in my mothering-hood. But
That's good. I have to confess right now, when my oldest was at 8 months, I didn't even think of any of this. What I did was taking a nap with my son through the day. That's all I remember. I just took a nap when he took a nap, and that was that simple for until yeah maybe in 18 months or so. And then I found out there was programs for library programs for little ones. That's how I was when my kids, my young oldest was that little. But I'm very proud of you, what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm probably a tiger mom because
Yeah.
I'm like, he needs to be doing this by this day. And on that day, if he's not doing it, I'm like, hold up, what is the problem? We need to be doing this. Like, when I saw actually have a cousin that has a child that's 3 days younger than my son, and
Wow.
her baby was sitting up. And I was like, he tries to sit up, but he's not sitting up today. What is the problem? And so like he actually set up maybe 3 days after she did. And I
Uh-huh.
have to remember he's a boy. They develop a little bit slower than girls,
Yeah.
but he can walk around the table and do that kind of thing. And, she can't. So, but I'm like, wait a minute. We need to be doing this. And developmentally, you got 2 more weeks until this happens. And then I have to kind of regress and be like, you know what? He's 8 months. It's not that deep. I don't need him to be Einstein. I just want him to be very well developed and have options. So, but I think you can be too pressing, and I didn't have that, and I turned out, I think, pretty fine. So I just try to have a little balance, and like he's gonna play, he'll crawl when it's time, and he's hit all the other milestones, so he's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's very true. I know every kid is different. So I know I raised my three boys, so I know every child is different and they develop differently. It has to be right time for them, not the right time for myself. For the mothers, it has to be right time for the kids.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Well, just for anybody else, if you have any questions, please pose them. We'll go ahead and get Jason to answer those. But I think this, like for mothers at this time, the one thing I would really want you to know is, like, Jason couldn't have said it better, that you have to take care of yourself. And it's just like flying on a plane. You need to secure your mask first, and then make sure that everybody else has their oxygen. But if you don't do that, if you don't take care of yourself and you don't have good self-care, you're not going to be of any substance to your child. If you're like driving around on empty, your car is going to stop. Same thing with your body. If you don't have good sleeping habits, if you aren't eating well, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to actually be here to take care of your child much longer, or less alone, be of any type of substance to them. So it's important to remind you that you have to take care of yourself first. And as mothers, our inclination is to take care and make sure our children are done first and that we come last. And it's really important now that they see good habits, and that they see you happy, and that they see you taking care of yourself, because then that is a reflection of what they're going to do. But if you're run ragged and like barely making it and have your last hint of energy, it's not going to do any good for your children. And it actually does worse, because you're like trying to steal energy that you don't have just to maintain. And right now, there are a lot of people who are suffering from mental illness and fatigue and all different things, because we're in a very unnormal situation where we're stuck in a house, or we don't have the same resources that we would normally have. So it's important that you reach out and have an accountability partner, or you reach out and phone a friend. You have to be like some of these game shows and reach out and phone a friend and say, hey, I need help. I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to step in and give me some encouragement, or let me vent. And you don't have to say anything, but let me just go on a rant for 20 minutes and get it all out, because I don't have the same, responses that I would normally have. I think also it's a good idea to just have somebody, that you can rely on to say, please, let's have this date that we check in on each other. So maybe I check in on you on Monday, and then Jason, you check on me on Tuesday or Thursday, and you just have a pattern of checking in to make sure, are you good? Do you need to just vent for 20 minutes, or do you need, some words of encouragement? Maybe find a good video that I've seen that I can, tell you about, and just build each other up. We need that more than anything right now. And so good mothers are finding good resources, and know that you can't do it on your own, that you need help. Because I'm the first one to raise my hand and be like, and I'm not even that person. I'm that superwoman. I can do it all on my own. I don't need anybody mentality. But I know that the first thing I learned in my first 13 weeks of being a mother was this is not for the faint of heart. And I am not superwoman. I'm not even going to encourage myself to be superwoman. I need help. And hey, I need help today. So I think that it doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger to have a support system and people who you can count on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very well said, and amen to that. Okay. So I think its time is almost up, so I'm gonna wrap up this, Charles.
Yes. So again, thank you, Jason, for giving us your words of wisdom and
Thank you.
Talking to us today. Every Wednesday, we are here 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I don't have the presentation that's going to happen next week, but I will get that out as soon as possible. If you are not a member of our group on Facebook, please join us, Ladies in Lunch. I will be glad to accept you. And basically, we talk about most anything that can encourage or support women. So we've had topics on self-care. We've talked about mental health. We talked about staying focused during the pandemic. If you want to be a presenter, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to get you some information. And as long as you're talking about things that encourage, support, help women, it can be business, it can be about remote work, it can be about parenting. And I'm so glad we got to do something about parenting, because I think that it's important, because there are women that have multiple hats, that are working from home, working with children, becoming a teacher, and then having to be a spouse and cook and clean and do all these other things. So I salute all of you who are doing those things, and know that you're not alone. So thank you all for your participation this week, and we will talk next week. Same time, different discussion.
Okay. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much for giving us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.